Yeah, you sit at these tables, sit at the table with
It used to be center.
Yes, they are.
Just as long as you guys have a pamphlet in front of you.
packet. You'll let me go first. We didn't do our blue table thing with you guys for a reason, and I'm going to just sit. So I want to explain to you what we're doing today. It's a little bit different than our presentation. So if you've been to presentations before, instead of these guys getting up and showing off all the great things they've learned and all the things that they've researched in a formal presentation, what this is today is a practice presentation, and they wanted to do it in front of an audience that could give them good feedback. The purpose of this whole presentation is for students to come up with ideas that might enhance the CAPS program. And what we would like from our audience is an understanding that this is kind of a first run at it. This is a first run at this type of presentation. And they're feeling a little bit nervous because they pretty much have a handle on doing research and presenting that research and wowing you with what they know and what they found out from other people. This time, they've been doing a lot of design. They've been doing a lot of creative thinking. They've done a lot of brainstorming, talking ideas, looking at what has been done so far in the CAPS program, and they'll explain that to you, and what they think could make it better. The CAPS program is an ongoing thing. I'm on that committee, and we really haven't made that much progress. So these guys are working from a very basic framework. That they've looked at the basic framework, and they're trying to say, you know, we can make this even better. So that's what they're going to present today. You'll notice on your evaluation sheets that are inside these pamphlets that there are 3 groups that are presenting. Each group has kind of a theme. And when we actually go out and present, we're hoping that you guys will give us some feedback and some suggestions as far as where they could present this, who they should be thinking their audience is, what they could do to make it better. Okay, anything else you guys want in your feedback? Okay, and it may end up that each group will present to a different group of people. Maybe one group will talk to the school board. Maybe one group will present to the CAPS coaches. Okay? But this is something they prepared. They're hoping to get involved in this process. Some of them really want to. Some of them are willing, I think, very willing to present this again. They will be presenting again Monday, and this will be a formal presentation to the entire Starling student body and staff, and they'll get some more feedback. And then we're trying to get invitations out in the, we're trying to get some invitations out into the community to talk about this. So with that, is that good enough? All right. Feel free to write all over these sheets. These are for your notes. These are things that we will give to the students afterwards. So if you have suggestions for them, if you have questions, comments, write that right on there, and we'll make sure that they get those and they use them for their feedback. And thank you so much for coming. We're asking a lot of you just to give them some feedback.
So Kimble kind of talked about the CAPS program. The CAPS program is this new concept high school where it would be a half-day program for juniors and seniors, and they would spend their time developing skills of interest in one of these 4 academies on the inside. There's the ACME, the Banner, the CACD, and the HSHS. All of those academies have to do strongly with different things, and the point of this is to help students mold their own education to things that they're interested in, and maybe help students be more interested in the school and see where schooling can take them. This is a really, really basic framework that we're working with, like Kimble said, and there's a lot of good things and a lot of bad things that still need to be worked out. So I think that Sasha and Mindy and Katie are going to talk to you guys about that.
to achieve was how the CAPS program would benefit high school students, students who disliked high school or the school curriculum. So we did that by going around Star Lane, asking the students, basically taking a survey on what they liked about their home school, such as Kelly Walsh and NC, and what they disliked about it. You can see some of the things that they liked were the different extracurricular activities, such as sports, foreign language classes, and clubs. They also liked how the teachers pushed you to learn, getting you to learn new things, and getting your work in. They also liked their elective classes and got them to learn other things. They enjoyed their friends, having their friends around them at school made it a positive environment. They also said high school. They also said a lot of negative things and what they disliked about high school. Some of those were they thought expectations were too high. They disliked the grading system. It seemed institutionalized to them. They don't have the same abilities as an adult. They're still treated as students. They pack on work. Some students may not be able to get all their work in. The long days. They're not always able to understand the classroom setting. They didn't like how they were graded on the tests and quizzes. And they didn't think that teachers always explained to them the best of their abilities, keeping them from learning. There wasn't enough variety in the classroom, and also the way we learned. They didn't like how we'd be given homework, just like papers in front of us, and we're expected to do it. So because of that, because high school students didn't like certain things, it led to certain students dropping out. And you can see here, based on some research, these are reasons why students found they were able to drop out. And because of these reasons, we think that the CAPS program may benefit these students and keep them interested in school and such. Katie will talk about the pros and cons of CAPS.
Okay.
Adding credits.
Yeah, so they're trying to add credits. We took a survey. We just went around and asked everybody in every tutor room what they thought were the good things and the bad things about adding credits. And the cons is that it's harder to get 27.5 credits than it is to get 24.5. More classes means a lot more work and higher dropout rates. But what we are trying to look at more is the pros of adding credits, which is more electives. It goes from 9.5 credits to 11.5. And then it keeps students more focused on school, and the main classes or the core classes remain the same amount of credits, which is 15.
And adding to the adding credits on these, the 11.5, from 9.5 to 11.5, it was just added a week ago or Monday. So it's just now recently. But yeah. Alright, so the cons of CAPS are they're adding more credits. Like Katie said, a lot of students are like, I really don't want to do more classes, but now since they added on more electives and all of the fun classes and everything else, now they're like, okay, that's fine. Because we did our research 2 weeks ago and surveyed people. So since it just now changed, our results of liking the 27.5 credits has changed. And some people don't like it how it's going to be an academy school because of the way they're teaching. It's more like a college experience instead of like high school experience more. It's getting you ready for college. And then pushing the process that may not fit every student's standards. You know, there's some students who learn more out of a book than they do going out there and getting their own research themselves. There's going to be a larger amount You're going to be learning at your own pace. And the capstone project for the seniors and juniors to start doing so they can get ready for college and be like, hey, look what I did. This is why I would be a perfect fit for college or that career, and just get started. It's going to be a different environment than a normal high school. It's also going to get us on the right track into heading to the college path and getting us to our careers that we want to do. It's going to mold the school to the students instead of molding the student to the school like Internal Accounting and Kelly Walsh does. It's going to be an opportunity to truly learn something new and going out there like Sterling already does, besides just learning it from a textbook that happened 20 years ago or 50 years ago. And it's going to be a more customized like we do here over at Sterling. So pretty much CAPS is going to be a little bit like Sterling, but not so much, because it's going to lean towards the college life too and getting you prepared for health, business, and all that. And that is where Hannah Help is going to explain.
So part of the CAPS program is the pathways, as I mentioned earlier, where students can come into this school and say, well, I've spent my 9th and 10th grade year deciding what I'm really interested in. And so then they go into this area where they're wanting to develop skills. So if someone's really interested in computer graphics, then they would go into the CACD program and really develop those skills and work in classes where those skills are utilized on a daily basis. And that's really cool that students can go in there and do something that they're interested in. But there's the likelihood that students would want to combine courses. For instance, we have the Banner Academy. Oh, sorry. And then we have the HSHS. And under that would be medicine. And then under here we have business. So then students would follow a curriculum that would surround themselves in business and follow that way all the way to graduation, or follow to medicine all the way to graduation. But that's not really how things always operate. Here at Sterling, we do things where we integrate our courses together. For instance, last year I did a problem where I had to look at World War II and the creation of the atomic bomb. So I looked into the politics of that, and I looked into the history surrounding that and the conflict. But we also had to look into the chemistry that went into designing the atomic bomb. So we combined a chemistry and a history course in one, which was really cool and really, really beneficial to us. So the idea here is maybe we could combine medicine and business to create one pathway. Because it's likely that a student may come along and say, well, I want to design a house call service. Well, that's really cool, but you can't just do that with medicine. And the business expertise is really, really vital. So they would spend time in business courses and also medicine courses. And then when it came to the senior capstone project, there might be a group of 4, and there would be 2 that are really, really interested in business, but kind of have some interest in medicine. And there would be 2 medicine students who would really need the business expertise that they would get out of this. So they would spend a period of time developing maybe a business plan or something like that to help design a fictional or probable house call service. And so then in the end, you get a single capstone that integrates both of these together. And that's kind of a capstone that you don't really think would happen, but it's also very possible. And the point is that the pathways need to be malleable and they need to be flexible for students to say, well, I need these courses from this academy and these courses from this academy to get the education I need. And so that's something that I think needs to be brought up and needs to be developed and fleshed out a little bit more. But the biggest part here is the capstone that I mentioned, and that is the senior project that kind of showcases all of your skills of your 4 years. And these 4 gentlemen are going to explain a little bit more about that for you.
Alright, so if you guys look inside your little pamphlets here, you see the Acme at the very top, the architectural, construction, manufacturing, and engineering. Well, us 4 guys, Chris, Pablo, Dallas, and I, we all kind of fit inside that. I really like engineering, Dallas likes welding, Chris is kind of mechanics, and Paulo's more physics. So we actually decided to look at what a capstone project for the ACME might look like. So, oh jeez, hold on. There we go, okay. So, we laid down some ideas, first of all, that kind of pertain to the ACME part of this. I forgot where it's from. Anyways, so we thought of maybe some windmills in Africa to help produce electricity for the people who don't have electricity there. We thought maybe a thorium reactor, which is kind of like a nuclear reactor, just more efficient. And then we thought maybe a weather balloon, because Kimble said we had a weather balloon available, so we thought within our little range that we could accomplish. So we kind of broke up and we did our own research. But when we did our own research, it's not the exact same as we did at Starlane. Me, on one hand, for engineering, I might call up a guy that works at a fabrication shop and say, can you show me how to draft different designs and what materials would be best for different situations and how to cut things out and such things like that. So then, but Pablo, because he's on physics and I'm on engineering, it might be a little different. So he would have to research a little differently.
Yeah, so what I would do is I'd do some outreach to some local physicists, to anyone teaching at the college that does physics. Right now I'm taking an online physics course taught by Andrew Young. So I do some outreach to some local physicists and get my own research. And again, that would be different than what Race would be doing. So at this point, we'd be kind of isolated. And then Chris would do his own research.
I could go up to the college and go to one of their auto mechanical classes and talk to one of the professors, or I could go to any of the shops in town who would let us just come in and talk to them and see how things are put together, learn a little bit about cars and mechanics.
And I could go around to some of the different welding shops that we have in town and see what people think would be the best type of welds we could use on a wind turbine.
So those are some of the local experts, but maybe long distance wise we could maybe Skype them or just do a long distance call and get their opinion on things. So after we break up into the 4 things, we would come back together and kind of share our knowledge of what we learned with everybody and maybe start building and maybe make a prototype.
Okay, so with the idea of the capstone project in mind, it's essential that if you have 4 individuals working on a single project, you have collaboration. And this is where the learning process is almost multiplied, if you will. Because at this point you have all this different set of research that is done by each and every one of us. So we'll present that to each other, much like as we do at Starlane. We'll do much the similar thing. And so we'll come together, we'll say, okay, well this is going to work, this is not going to work, and we'll kind of do like a checks and balance system for each other. And so through this, we all get at least a basic level of knowledge of what we're all doing. And then with our preferred interest, we have a much higher degree of knowledge. And then again, this is the culmination of all the outreach we do, all the research, and it would, next slide, it would produce what hopefully Starlane tries to produce, a prototype. Personally at Starlane, I'd like to build lots of things. We don't normally get the chance, but through the capstone project, you would definitely get that chance. A lot of teachers, like yesterday I asked a teacher what he thought about the capstone project, and he said, it's like a BOE, just
Actually, Dallas.
oh, Dallas? Okay, yeah, excuse me, Dallas.
And for portfolios, rather than handing in like a standard portfolio, we could put different information that we have gathered on stuff that we've been researching. We could put it on a disc and be able to hand our information in on the disc rather than just a standard portfolio.
And just to add to that, if you know at Keto, there's the little pillars of success, like show up on time, do your work, actually the keys of success. Well, these would be the 4 pillars of success for a capstone project. You would have a product, which in this case would maybe be a prototype or an actual working wind turbine. You do a presentation just like we are now, but to maybe some local experts that we've worked with and talked to, and then a portfolio of all the work that and we could compile it all on one CD, on like an electronic portfolio, and we could send that off to a college, and a college would look at that and be like, well, he's not just a good test taker, maybe he's a good student. But Chris will talk to you more about that.
Yeah, maybe colleges aren't just looking for the best scores on the ACT. Like, it is important to show your knowledge, but we could show our knowledge in a different way and be more creative and really further our education and be ready for college better. And in our capstone group, when we all come together, it's not just Race being good at engineering, Dallas being good at welding, me being a mechanic, and Pavlo being a physicist, but it's like us all coming together and bettering our knowledge as a group, so we don't all just know one thing. We know all of these things and work together to build a great thing.
There was something in one of these. It was called a T learning formation, and what that signifies is okay. So if you have a T, you have because you have a wide variety of knowledge, but you have a lot of depth in one subject. So in my case, this long line here would probably be engineering, but at least I'd have a good basic knowledge of physics and welding and mechanics. And I think that's really important in this CAPS program.
And that way you get a lot of variety, but you can also say, I'm really good at this. And colleges that might specialize in physics, welding, or whatever your interest is, they look at that and say, you're already a step ahead.
Exactly. And so that concludes our presentation, but we would really like to hear your guys' ideas on this CAPS program and maybe even have a little discussion. So if you guys want to find a seat.